Been said that Bigfoot exhibits nocturnal behavior, perhaps to hunt or to avoid detection. But the cloak of darkness couldn't hide the creature in the stunning footage you're about to see.
From a witness encountering a baby Bigfoot to the Expedition Bigfoot crew being hunted by 4 humanoid creatures, the proof is too compelling to deny. Here's why. In their Alaskan expedition, the Expedition Bigfoot crew found themselves in a dangerous position. After narrowing down their area of research using modern technology, the team was posted around the hidden mountain lake. Ronnie and Mireya were on the north and south sides and would make their way through the surrounding forest towards the lake, hoping to drive the creature out onto the banks where Russell could observe it with the tethered drone. At this point, using the drone, Russell was looking for anything that would put out a heat trace anywhere near or around the water source that the team had considered a highly likely area to spot a Bigfoot. But that's not all. Ronnie and Mireya were on guard and stayed vigilant to notice any unusual movements. If they were lucky, they hoped to find footprints that would draw them closer to their target. Having been separated by Russell in an attempt to cover more ground, both Ronnie and Mireya were equipped with thermal imaging cameras and other equipment to monitor any of the areas Russell could not see. While Russell was their eyes in the sky, Mireya and Ronnie were having it tough. There were a lot of obstacles, from twigs and fallen tree branches, that made it hard to move at night and made it easily possible for either of them to twist their ankle.
This is the biggest heat signature I've ever seen. It's huge. And now there's another one to the left. There's multiple creatures walking over there.
This meant that one had to watch where they stepped. But the troubles did not stop there. The hardest part was that they couldn't see clearly at night, even with their flashlights. As their search went on, Mireya noticed something. She heard rustling a few meters from where she was standing. In her expertise, she knew that there was something walking towards them, and it seemed like whatever it was moving above them in the trees. It was like the creature intentionally avoided being detected by the human flashlights. But Mireya was not the only one experiencing the strange noises and rustling. As Ronnie looked around for any signs of Bigfoot activity in the darkness of the woods, he heard the rustling too. As he investigated, Mireya reached out to Russell over the radio and expressed her unease. She told Russell that she had heard something and expressed that she felt like she was being watched. Following this, she asked Russell if his drone had detected anything in the area where she was standing. Hearing the tension in her voice, Russell told Mireya that he had not yet spotted anything with his drone. As if getting a false sense of security since Russell had not yet spotted anything, Mireya continued to look around. Meanwhile, Ronnie, having overheard Mireya's conversation with Russell, decided to stay keen.
It's pretty brutal getting back here.
One thing that Mireya stressed to me about this area that she had investigated was the sheer thickness of the thicket and the brush.
Since if Mireya had experienced the presence of the elusive creature, it was just a matter of time before Ronnie experienced it too. And then it happened. Ronnie heard some noises and reported it to Russell as well to see if his drone had captured something. According to Ronnie, the sound seemed to be moving towards the water source. Upon hearing this, Russell became concerned about the well-being of his crew and instructed Ronnie to stay at least a few yards away from the water source since they did not know what to expect. Upon hearing Russell's warning, Ronnie decided to find a safe distance from the water source where he could observe without making direct contact with the creatures of the night. He moved a few meters from where he was standing and hid behind a huge rock as if to show whatever was hunting him that he had surrendered. After reaching behind the rock,
I'm just sitting here in total darkness. I have a huge stump as a blind to my back. I can maneuver around this and take a peek to see what might be coming across.
Ronnie asked Mireya if she could see him through her thermo camera, to which she responded by saying that she could see him clearly. But then Ronnie heard something. A loud breaking sound came from his right side. Hearing this, he told Mireya to use her camera to see what had caused the noise, and then she saw it. Just a few meters away from where Ronnie was, behind a tree, Mireya saw a heat signature. She could not tell whether the creature was crouching as if watching Ronnie, or it was just another creature minding its business. While Mireya saw the heat signature, she could not really tell what it was or what it was doing. The creature remained still without making sudden movements. Seeing this, Mireya radioed Ronnie, asking him if he could hear anything. While he did not hear anything moving or making any noise, Ronnie still felt like a sitting duck being watched by a predator. Using his flashlight, Ronnie tried to find the creature that Mireya was talking about, but he could not see it. It was as if the creature knew how to remain perfectly still so as not to be easily spotted by its prey. Knowing that the creature was just a few meters from where he was, Ronnie decided to go and see what it was. As Mireya guided him to where the creature was, the thermal camera suddenly stopped working. By the time it got back online, the creature had disappeared. It was as if whatever was hiding behind the tree was taunting them. While Ronnie might have dodged a bullet, Mireya was about to face her own monsters. A few yards away from where she was standing, Mireya saw something moving. Upon taking a closer look with her binoculars, she saw a weird-looking creature walking on two legs. When one of the crew members asked her if she could only hear movement rather than see it.
Wait, are you seeing movement or are you just hearing?
No. I see movement, but I'm not picking up a heat signature.
She claimed to have spotted something moving and hiding behind the trees. While she was definitely sure of what she was seeing, she was not getting a heat signature from her camera. This was a strange phenomenon. Not knowing what to do about it, she radioed Russell and reported that there was something moving in front of her, but she could not see it even with the special technology. In her words to Russell, Mireya described the shadowy figure as a black silhouette moving past her. What could it have been? Having captured no image or footage of the creature from his drone, Russell also informed Mireya to walk away from the water source as a safety precaution and find better ground to observe. As Mireya communicated with Russell, Ronnie heard the felling and breaking of trees a few yards from where he was standing. Upon hearing the breaking of branches, Ronnie was a bit scared. He knew that there were no loggers cutting trees in the middle of the woods, not to mention in the middle of the night. As he tried to follow the noise, Russell radioed him, asking for an update regarding the noises he could hear. Ronnie reported that the noises were moving in a specific direction, as if whatever was causing them was intended to stay hidden. Being a seasoned survivalist, Russell warned Ronnie that the creature's behavior seemed to indicate that the creature was tracking Ronnie. For this reason, Russell told Ronnie to move further away from the water source. Having been creeped out by the noises, Ronnie moved further away from the water source. On Mireya's side, things got a little more interesting. She continued to see the movement of shadowy figures camouflaging in the trees, as if avoiding being seen directly. If they were avoiding being seen by Ronnie and Mireya, there was a high possibility that these creatures could see them. As she paid close attention to what she was seeing, the shadowy figure moved to an area with fewer trees, and Mireya saw it. Whatever she was looking at was huge.
Whatever that is, it is walking across the forest. It's huge. This is the biggest heat signature I've ever seen. It's huge.
It was the biggest heat signature she had ever seen. But things got more interesting. As she was hooked on observing one creature through her thermo-powered binoculars, another creature appeared right next to the first one. Shocked by this finding, Mireya quickly radioed Russell and communicated in whispers as if not to draw the creature's attention to her, since she was standing about 100 yards away from them. These multiple huge heat signatures were walking through the forest, and they seemed to be heading in Mireya's direction. Then all of a sudden, Mireya lost sight of the creatures. Could they have been on to her? Hearing this, Russell quickly reached out to Ronnie and informed him that Mireya was in a situation that he was not comfortable with. Despite the fact that she had lost sight of two heat signatures, she was hidden in the tree canopies, which made it hard for Russell to see her using his drone. But it gets even worse. She could not make any sudden noises or try to run in the woods since it would draw the attention of the beasts, making her a target for the creatures. Knowing this, Russell instructed Ronnie to look for Mireya and get to her as fast as he could since it was not safe. And then the noises grew louder. Mireya heard the noises get closer to where she was. She heard tree branches cracking way too close to her, as if one of the creatures had come to say hello. At first, she thought it was Ronnie. She radioed Ronnie and asked him if he was the one causing the noises she was hearing. To her surprise, Ronnie was still on the other side of the lake, trying to find the quickest way to get to her. It was at this moment that she realized that she was not alone. Thinking that Ronnie was playing a prank on her, she radioed him again, asking where exactly he was. Overhearing the conversation, Russell warned Mireya to move away from where she was standing.
Mireya, I need you to back out of that area. Ronnie,
He's a quarter-mile away. He's too far away for him to be right in your vicinity.
back out of that area.
I'll make my way back.
And confirmed that Ronnie was over a quarter-mile away from her. Hearing this, Mireya quickly turned and started getting away from the area. As Mireya walked away, she heard noises again, but this time, it was Ronnie who had caught up to her. Knowing this, Russell felt a bit better knowing that none of his team members was isolated. After meeting each other, both Mireya and Ronnie could not shake off the feeling that they were not alone in the woods. They felt like they were being watched, and that whatever was watching them maintained a safe distance as if to avoid being detected. Yet, this is not the first time Bigfoot has behaved in this elusive manner. While Mireya and her crew experienced the creepy side of the encounter, other witnesses have had quite a pleasant encounter. Barb's multiple encounters. Ever since she was a child, Barb Shoop has always been fascinated with Bigfoot. The mystery surrounding these elusive creatures made her curious about them, and she always hoped one day to encounter one. Her first introduction to Bigfoot was in the 1970s. Her family had gone camping at Spirit Lake near Mount St. Helens, where the rangers gathered the kids around a bonfire for storytelling. The tales of the wilderness included eerie stories, like the one about Ape Canyon, where miners claimed they were attacked by strange ape men. Hearing these stories, Barb was instantly drawn in and captivated by the tales, unlike her younger brother, who found it all a bit too scary. Back then, without the internet, Barb could only catch bits of Bigfoot legends on TV now and then, but her fascination never faded. As she grew up, her curiosity deepened, and she found herself drawn to the woods, hoping for a glimpse of the creature. But, with no sightings of her own, she started thinking maybe Bigfoot was just a myth told to kids to scare them and prevent them from going to the woods alone. That changed in the early 1990s when she discovered something that defied all her beliefs about Bigfoot. In April 1992, while walking along a logging road near her cabin, Barb noticed something odd. The tops of several trees were broken off, looking like they hadn't fallen naturally. Her curiosity led her further into the woods until she found a perfect footprint. She paused, realizing this was something far from ordinary. She imagined how the creature might have stepped there, the uneven ground causing its foot to slip, leaving behind a deep, clear impression in the dirt. The print was large, and it looked like the creature had stepped between two trees, snapping their tops in the process. Following this incident, Barb's belief in Sasquatch was reignited. A few years later, Barb came across other strange signs but brushed them off, reasoning that if Bigfoot was real, people would talk about it. Then, in 2006, an unusual encounter made her question just how close these creatures might be to her. One day, while she was outside looking for her missing cat, a big, black, furry shape fell from a tree, bounced off her cabin's roof, and vanished from view. When she checked, all she found was a very fluffed-up chicken on her porch. Barb couldn't help but wonder if this might have been a young Sasquatch, and if so, she wondered where its mother was. The thought never left her mind, even if it seemed too strange to accept. In 2012, her suspicions were confirmed. She was watching a herd of elk near her cabin when she saw a large, dark figure walking alongside them. In that instant, Barb knew what she'd seen years earlier had indeed been a baby Sasquatch. But this was not the end of it. After that, strange occurrences became more frequent. One evening, while searching for her missing cat by a creek, Barb heard a noise. It started like an owl's hoot, but quickly turned into a deep, unsettling growl. She knew no bird could make a sound like that. Alone in the woods, the eerie growl left her on edge, wondering what might be out there watching her. Over time, Barb noticed other odd signs. Rocks were thrown near her, branches were arranged in peculiar ways, and piles of sticks appeared in the woods as if deliberately placed. These were the same signs the Expedition Bigfoot crew had witnessed in many of their expeditions. Barb even saw strange glowing orbs moving among the trees, like yellow lights bouncing playfully. At first, she thought they might be forest spirits, but she later began to connect these events to Sasquatch. But the real shock came during an encounter she would later call the Cloaker event. Barb and her friend Sandy hosted a campout for people interested in Bigfoot, attracting followers from her YouTube channel who wanted to experience the woods where Barb had so many encounters. During a group hike, Barb spotted something about 80 feet away. A black, triangular-shaped head peeked above the undergrowth and then darted away, all covered in hair. Though it vanished quickly, Barb wasn't the only one to see something strange. A few hikers on the trail saw what looked like a small black monkey climbing down a tree before disappearing into the bushes. From the many confessions, Barb believed that she might have been witnessing a family of Sasquatches in the area. Later, when she reviewed her camera footage, she saw a faint, shifting figure that seemed to cloak itself, like the creature from the Predator movies. She could hardly believe what she was seeing. Barb had seen Sasquatches vanish before, but this time, with the footage in hand, she couldn't rationalize it away. She showed the footage to others, confirming that this was no ordinary sight. From then on, she began to accept that Sasquatches might have abilities beyond normal understanding. Not long after, on a trip to the Blue Mountains, Barb felt a strange energy she could only describe as being zapped or sizzled, something she'd heard about but had never experienced herself. She felt like she was being watched, and the glowing eyes she saw in the dark only heightened her sense of being observed by these creatures. Returning home, Barb felt an odd mix of excitement and unease. She knew these creatures were aware of her, capable of things she didn't fully understand. Her logical mind wanted to deny it, but the signs were too strong to ignore. The woods she once knew now felt different, and she found herself looking at her surroundings with new eyes. Today, Barb still experiences signs of Sasquatch around her cabin. Every now and then, she hears tree knocks or distant vocalizations answering her calls. Occasionally, they leave small trinkets, stones, and other signs that seem intentional, almost like gestures of acknowledgement. After all these years, Barb believes these occurrences aren't as random as people think them to be. To her, they're purposeful acts from these creatures. While Barb's encounters are peaceful, not all stories have a happy ending. A couple's traumatic encounter. Washington State, being the world's top spot for reported Bigfoot sightings, has kept the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch, RMS, team busy, driving them to search the area and examine any signs pointing to Bigfoot's presence. But then one day, they received a message that made them rethink everything. It was from a man named Joseph S. He had experienced something strange in the woods, but hadn't been sure who to talk to without being criticized. When he found RMS, he finally thought his story might make sense to someone. According to Joseph, the encounter happened back in 2016. He was walking through Olympic National Park with his girlfriend and their Rottweiler, a big, tough dog named Tina. After a long hike, they decided to take a shortcut home, but that shortcut had something unexpected waiting for them. Soon after they started on the path, Tina, normally brave and protective, began to whine. Joseph and his girlfriend found it strange. Tina was usually fearless, always alert and on guard, and even growled when she saw other animals. But on this trail, she was cowering behind Joseph's girlfriend, clearly afraid. The couple paused, fully alert now, sensing that something unusual was nearby.
We were confused and we started to observe our surroundings with more attention. Just 50 feet away from us, we spotted something big and orange moving and crossing the trail. It looked like a big man with orange, shaggy hair head to toe.
Then they saw it. Around 50 feet ahead, something large and orange moved across their path. Joseph saw a figure like a giant man covered in thick, shaggy orange hair. Its skin was black, and as he studied the creature, he realized its features were strange. Its head seemed like a mix between a human's and a gorilla's, but with odd proportions. Its mouth was unusually wide, its ears were small, and its forehead sloped forward, almost giving it a heavy monobrow appearance. It had a flat nose that looked oddly human-like, and its eyes were dark, with no whites showing. Joseph, his girlfriend, and Tina were all frozen, trying to process what they were looking at. From their position, Joseph estimated the creature was about 8 to 10 feet tall. It had a massive muscular frame with broad shoulders and thick arms. In its left hand, it held what looked like the bloody carcass of a large animal. Though Joseph couldn't tell exactly what kind of animal it was, the creature held it effortlessly, as if it weighed no more than a rabbit. As Tina whimpered again, the creature's head snapped toward them. The movement was so quick that Joseph barely had time to react. His girlfriend covered her mouth, likely to keep from screaming. The creature seemed startled as it stared at them for about 5 seconds. Then, it turned and took off, moving from a slow walk to a sprint and disappearing into the trees. Once it was gone, the couple didn't waste a moment. They hurried along the trail, eager to get out of the park as fast as they could. Before that day, Tina had been a brave dog, always quick to bark and growl, even at bears. But after the encounter, her behavior changed. She became fearful, even of people, other dogs, and smaller animals. Worried, the couple took her to a vet, who noted that Tina seemed traumatized. When the vet asked what might have caused it, Joseph explained that they had met a large animal in the woods, though he didn't mention Bigfoot. Hearing this, the vet replied that whatever it was must have been enormous to scare a dog like Tina.
There's something wandering across the face of that.
From a video of a giant humanoid creature running across the thick snow on a mountain captured, to a couple encountering a creature that left their dog with PTSD after a hike in the woods, the Bigfoot mystery has finally been solved. Here is the proof: a giant humanoid creature running across the mountain. A group of researchers received strange footage from a person who went by the name John. The footage was filmed on one of the mountain peaks along the Wasatch Front mountain range. At the time of filming, what they claimed to be hardcore evidence of Bigfoot, John and his buddies were down in the valley at about 4,200 feet elevation and zoomed in on a peak at about 9,000 feet elevation. They did their best to film this creature running horizontally and then vertically up the steep snow-swept mountainside using a spotting telescope and holding the lens of the camera up to the viewfinder. It was almost a mile higher than the guys filming it, around 5,200 feet higher. They had to zoom in over 3 miles at least to capture this creature that was easily and quickly traversing in around 90 inches of snow. Seeing the creature easily running through the thick snow caught their attention. Looking closer, the guys were amazed and excited, scoping in on this creature running on the steep snow-covered mountain. Upon receiving this footage, the researchers were very keen to examine it and try their best to validate its credibility, considering that there have been quite a number of hoaxes. For this reason, they zoomed in on the footage to get a closer look at what was going on. But they were not ready for what they saw. They saw a bipedal creature running across the mountain. The creature then took a small break and then ran off fast across and disappeared into the snow. This really surprised the researchers, since they knew that the snow in those mountains was about 90 inches thick.
There's something wandering across the face of that.
In their expertise, for a creature to run that fast in that thick snow, it had to be very tall for the feet to sink deep in the snow, and it had to be very strong for it to have the power to literally run across the snow, not to mention uphill. To try and prove how difficult it would be to run across the thick snow, they went hiking on the foothills east of Francis Peak at Hardscrabble Creek in 18 inches of snow. Sky, a 6-foot-tall strong guy, struggled to barely walk perfectly in the 18-inch snow, let alone run. If the creature they saw in the footage was actually real, then it had to be way taller than Sky, and had to be way stronger for it to run in the 5 times thicker snow of the mountain. The researchers were amazed by what they saw and the results they had gotten by letting one of them walk in the snow. Following this incident, several folks asked if anyone had searched for tracks, and others stated that they should send a drone up to where a suspected Bigfoot was filmed running up the steep mountainside. A helicopter pilot flew over the mountain looking for evidence right after watching the video, and what he saw surprised him. The tracks were there but slowly fading due to the high winds on top of the mountain. According to the researchers, John was not saying that what he and his friends caught on camera was Bigfoot running uphill. John was also not saying that the giant footprints in this large trackway left by the creature were Bigfoot's. However, the evidence was too compelling. In their expertise, the researchers knew that this trackway was consistent with most credible Bigfoot trackways when the creature was running or moving at a fast pace. Based on what the researchers knew from other footage, the brisk pace of trackways made by Bigfoot usually had long strides. Additionally, the footprints were directly in front of each other, as if the creature was walking a tightrope. Perhaps one or both of these pieces of video was a clear indication of the existence of the creature. Either way, it is not the only piece of evidence. There is more. A couple's dog gets PTSD after seeing it. Until 2024, Washington State remains the #1 reported Bigfoot sighting location in the world, and one of the top locations for reported Bigfoot or Sasquatch sightings in Washington State is the Olympic Forest and Peninsula. Because of this, the Rocky Mountain Sasquatch Organization, RMSO team, has been on several expeditions into high-volume Bigfoot encounter locations in the region to search for the creature and look for evidence to support the numerous claims. And one day, the evidence presented itself to them. A random guy who went by the name Joseph wrote to them a message that kept their hopes of finding the creature alive. Joseph had had an interesting encounter with a strange creature in the woods, but did not know who to tell about it without being called crazy. After discovering RMSO, he thought that his story would make sense to them.
Joseph S. writes RMSO. Hi, before I start, I just wanted to say that I just discovered your organization and I think my sighting will be interesting to you.
In 2016, Joseph was walking on a trail in the Olympic National Park with his girlfriend and their dog, which was a female Rottweiler named Tina. As they finished walking, they decided to go back, but opted for a shortcut trail to get them home faster. But the universe had other plans for them. As they were walking back, Tina started to whine. This was a strange phenomenon for the couple, since Tina was a big dog, and she normally growled whenever she saw another dog or animal in the couple's way. But that day, she was whining and walking behind Joseph's girlfriend's legs, whereas she was used to always being in front of them and on guard. Seeing this, the couple was confused, and they started to observe their surroundings with more attention, seeing that their dog was sensing something dangerous close by. That is when they saw it. Just 50 feet away from where they were standing, they spotted something big and orange moving and crossing the trail. It looked like a big man with orange shaggy hair, head to toe, and jet black skin. On top of that, the creature had a skull shaped like a cross between a gorilla and a human, and the face was weird. It looked like a human face with inconsistent proportions. According to Joseph, the mouth was too wide, the ears were too small, and the forehead was too arched forward, making it look like a big monobrow. But that's not all. The nose was flat but still human-looking, and the eyes were dark, and the couple couldn't see any white in the creature's eyes. Apart from this, the couple and the dog were scared because of the size of the beast. Judging by the distance and how slow the creature was moving, Joseph could measure it to be around 8 to 10 feet tall. Its muscles were massive, and it was carrying something in its left arm, a black carcass with blood. According to Joseph, they couldn't tell what dead animal the creature was holding, but it looked big, and it was carrying it like a person carrying a rabbit. The beast was strong. Tina whimpered again, and the creature looked at them. It was so fast that Joseph didn't have time to react while his girlfriend covered her mouth, probably not to let out a scream. Upon seeing the couple, the creature had a surprised expression on its face and just stood there for a few seconds, looking at them, and then turned around and ran. It went from slow walking to a sprint in an instant. After the strange encounter, the couple exited the park after an hour, walking fast on that trail to get to safety. Since he was a kid, Joseph had heard stories about Sasquatch, and following the encounter, he was certain that he and his girlfriend saw one that day. Agreeing with Joseph, the RMSO replied to Joseph and told him that they had found a lot of Bigfoot evidence during an expedition to Olympic Forest.
Yeah, there's one that got snapped off another foot higher than the one that you were just pointing out.
What? These are some pretty tall ones. To reach that high.
According to this group of researchers, the Olympic Peninsula is supposed to be the #1 Bigfoot sighting hotspot in the world. Joseph was glad that they had responded, and he continued to explain the events that followed after their encounter. Joseph told RMSO that their dog Tina used to be fearless, barked and growled even at bears. According to Joseph, after that occurrence, in 2016, Tina became cowardly towards almost everything. She feared people, other dogs, and also smaller animals. Seeing this, the couple took her to the vet, and the vet said that Tina had developed some kind of traumatic disorder. The vet asked Joseph about anything that could have happened, and Joseph told him about their encounter in the Olympic Forest. Of course, Joseph didn't mention Bigfoot. He just said that they saw a big animal in the woods, and the vet said that it must have been a very big thing then to damage her head like that. This was such an interesting phenomenon for the RMSO. They thanked Joseph for his report and continued to say that the place they had had their encounter with the Bigfoot-like creature was a hotspot. The region had a lot of sightings. On top of that, the RMSO told Joseph that one of their friends lived in the area and had countless voice recordings of an animal not native to the area. Additionally, the RMSO has found amazing footprints out there, a butt print, knuckle print, and a handprint. While skeptics will continue to deny the existence of this creature, another sighting happened. This time, it was recorded by a Bigfoot skeptic. Skeptic has his own Bigfoot encounter. RMSO received another evidence report that came from Virginia. This time, the events of this amazing Bigfoot sighting and encounter happened on the southwest side of Virginia, near the Kentucky border. Unlike the Washington case report, the witness in this one actually recorded the strange vocalizations that went on for several nights and also captured the creature on camera on a Monday in September. On top of that, Harley, the witness, recorded some unusual tracks over 50 yards from the sawmill that he worked in. 2 days later, Harley saw a Bigfoot-like creature watching him from the cliffs behind the sawmill. But how did he find himself here? In the report to RMSO, Harley said, "Hello, I'm Harley Owens and I have an encounter I'd like to share with you. I have pictures of the footprints and I have an audio of what I believe to be Bigfoot. I'm from Tennessee, but this encounter happened in Virginia. I don't know if you all cover other regions or not, but was hoping I could share my story and encourage others out there to share." Harley went on to admit that he had initially been skeptical about the existence of Bigfoot, but after he had his first-hand encounter with the creature, nobody could convince him that what he saw that day was nothing but a bear. According to the report, Harley was working up there for almost 2 weeks. The encounter took place at his workplace on September 23, 2020, around 1:45 p.m. Additionally, the entire encounter lasted over 5 minutes, but to Harley, it felt like it lasted forever. On that fateful day, Harley stepped away from the sawmill and went to the service truck to get a Coca-Cola out of his cooler. He was taking a break after a busy morning. At the time, he was by himself that week, but the week prior he wasn't alone. He had 2 more guys with him. As Harley started to open his drink and cool off, he heard something making a growling sound. It sounded off in the woodline right by where he was standing. Hearing this, Harley looked around the woods but saw nothing. It was not long before he heard it again, and up on the cliff, peeking out of the brush from behind a tree, there it was. But the creature remained elusive. Whenever Harley would look, it would hide. Luckily, he got a picture, but unfortunately, he didn't know how it happened, but the phone he had then just died. And to this day, that phone is still messed up and not working properly. When he saw the creature, his first thought was that it was a bear because of the color, but the way it acted and moved was not like a bear. And this is something Harley noticed. In the report, Harley said, "I grew up in Tennessee and we have bears. I saw around a dozen black bears down at the dumps near my house all the time. When this creature started peeking around the brush and trees, it was curious, looking intelligent. It wasn't like any wildlife that I've ever been around." But that's not all Harley experienced. About an hour after dark, Harley began to hear strange vocalizations that evening. It was probably around 9:30 p.m. As the strange voices and sounds went on consistently, Harley decided to record them. According to Harley, the creature he saw was about 100 yards away, and it gave off the smell of rotting eggs. This was very strange for Harley, since he knew that bears did not give off such a characteristic scent. In the report, Harley admitted to remembering the smell and everything that happened that day, and claimed that it had haunted him to the day he was making the report. It was as if all Harley needed was closure, to be told by someone else that what he saw was real, and it was exactly what he thought it was. Harley went on to tell RMSO that he hoped to help others open their minds and to share their own encounters. He then sent them a recording of the strange vocalizations from his phone, which he had placed on the compressor of his truck while recording that night. These were the vocalizations recorded the night after seeing the creature on the cliffs. After closely examining the multiple evidence sent to them by Harley, the RMSO responded to him. In the vocalizations recording, RMSO crew said that they could hear creaking or machinery during parts of the audio, which made them question Harley what was causing it. In response, Harley said, "When I heard the vocalizations, I was sitting at the truck, logging everything that people had bought and picked up from the auction for the week, and made sure that nobody was coming in there after dark before I went to my hotel. That was the wind blowing on the side of the building. It's an old sawmill." Yet that's not all. Following his encounter with the creature and the strange voices at night, Harley went out for dinner at the local food point and talked to some old-timers he found there. He mentioned what he had been experiencing and told them what was going on. At first, they were quiet for a minute since they noticed that he was not a local. But then, they referred to them as devil monkeys. In the report, Harley recalls that the owner of the sawmill told him a week prior that the woods had bears, snakes, and coyotes, but there were far worse things than them in these mountains. Hearing the locals tell him about the devil monkeys, Harley was shocked and told them that it sounded sinister and dark in nature. As if to test the credibility of his story, RMSO asked Harley if anyone else at that worksite or location had had any experiences or sightings that he knew of. In response, Harley said that he knew of nobody else beside him who had had such an encounter. He, however, added that this encounter was engraved in his head. He then went ahead to give the RMSO a 3D map of the location. As if to get a clear picture of what Harley had seen, the RMSO, knowing that Harley had gone to get his drink and it was daytime, asked him if he was ever able to estimate the height and width of the creature. In response, Harley continued, "Yes, it was outside of the sawmill. We sold logging equipment, loaders, saws, all the things inside the mill and lumber. I'm 6'6" and it was bigger than me easily. I'm about 160 pounds and it could have snapped me like quick. I stayed to take stuff out for people to get it loaded on their trailers. That gate was the only way in and out of the place that I'm aware of. I lock up the gate after the auction days and unlock it at sunrise the next day." Looking at the photo of the creature that Harley sent them, the RMSO noticed the elevated walkway from the top of the sawmill. When asked how far the tracks were from the sawmill that he photographed and filmed, what he was thinking when he found the tracks 2 days before seeing the creature and hearing the vocalizations, and what he thought made them, Harley said, "The tracks were about 50 to 100 yards from the sawmill. You can see towards the end of the video where the sawmill is. My initial thought was, that's odd. Who would be walking around barefoot? Then I put my foot beside the track and it dwarfed mine, and I wore a size 12, and I was just wondering about that. I had always heard the stories about Bigfoot and the tracks, and that opened my mind to the reality of them being real. Having that first-hand encounter has made me a firm believer." Following Harley's response, the RMSO admitted that it was actually pretty creepy that Harley heard it growling at him and moving around up there too. Excited to explain further, Harley said that the growl was what made him look. If he had not heard it growl, he would have never noticed it at all. And after seeing it, he captured a pretty good picture of the creature. According to Harley, when he heard the first growl, he looked at it and saw it through the brush, and it growled again. That's when he saw it leaning out and going back behind the brush. Then it turned around and walked back the way it came and walked up the ridge. To Harley, the creature was bipedal, no doubt, and it was walking hunched over. These were the very characteristics of Bigfoot that the RMSO knew. And if it was not Bigfoot that Harley saw that day, then it was definitely a Sasquatch-like creature. Looking at the original image of the Sasquatch that Harley was able to take before the creature went back into the cover and made its way up over the ridge, the RMSO crew noticed something. When taking the photo, Harley had zoomed in with this phone and estimated that it was over 100 yards away. The RMSO decided to zoom in 200% and run the image through several filters to see if they could bring out any additional features and get more detail. According to the RMSO, a lot of animals are black because it's a great color for camouflage. This is because black absorbs light and helps the animal to melt into the background, making human eyes and minds think it's just the shadows of the environment. Upon zooming in 350% and running the image through the same filters as before, the RMSO crew noticed something. There was a shimmer surrounding the Bigfoot-shaped creature in the image that may have been caused by light shimmering through the creature's outer layer of fur. When they took a look at the right side of the head region, they saw what appeared to be the profile of the front of its face and nose. To the crew, this was an amazing photo captured several hours before some eerie, unexplained Sasquatch-like vocalizations were heard just after dark.